Hi, my name is Chris Jackson. I've been practicing business law for over 25 years. Today, this video is about what to do after you formed your LLC. If you set up your limited liability company and you don't follow certain steps, that is the equivalent of purchasing a vehicle. Let's say you purchase an RV, but you don't even know how to drive a car. And that's why it's important that you watch this video. If, by the way, you like this video and my content in general, I encourage you to like the video and also subscribe to my channel. Okay, so there are essentially 6 main steps we're going to go over today. The first one is the operating agreement. The second is the EIN or tax ID for your LLC. The third is opening a bank account for your limited liability company. The fourth is obtaining business licenses and or permits. Number 5 is acquiring business insurance. The last one is selecting to be taxed as an S corporation if you so choose. Why is it important to take these steps after you set up your limited liability company? Well, the whole purpose of setting up a limited liability company, as you know, is to limit your liability. Now you've taken the first step, you've created the entity, you have to now take the next steps to ensure that you in fact will limit your liability to the amount that you invested in the limited liability company and no more. We don't want any exposure to your personal assets should your business get sued at some point in the future. God forbid, I know that that's not the intent, but these things happen. We want to make sure that if they do happen, we are protecting your personal assets, your house, your furniture, the cash in your personal bank accounts, other assets you might have, including maybe even your dog. Granted, dogs are not subject to seizure, unless they are of value, of course, like they're a show dog. I do not have a show dog. I do have this dog, though, and he is of much value to me. And I want to make sure I protect all my assets, including my pets, right? Yeah? You okay with that? That's why I set up the LLC, Jax. Okay, so step number 1, as mentioned, is the operating agreement. The question is, what should be in your operating agreement? If you use my corporate services company, Inc. file, and you followed the steps that I took you through in creating your LLC in my prior video, then you would have obtained a template operating agreement from Inc. file as part of the process. If not, there are templates online. I'm going to create a template of my own. Once I do, I'm going to put it in as a link in the description underneath this video. But we want to make sure that wherever you got your template, you want it to A, apply to your state, and B, you should include the following items in your operating agreement. Number 1, the name of the member or members. If it's a single member LLC, meaning you are the only member, we still have to identify you as the member. If you have more than one member, and members are owners of the LLC, kind of like shareholders for a corporation, but if you have more than one member, we have to identify not only who those members are, but what percentage ownership each member has in the limited liability company. Next, we have to determine whether your limited liability company is going to be a member-managed limited liability company or a manager-managed LLC. You can choose in your limited liability company to have it managed either by the members or a manager. I prefer, for reasons I have discussed in prior videos, a manager-managed LLC. It's a personal preference for myself and also my clients. And that is because I like having the title manager after my name. It is the equivalent of a CEO in a corporation, so it makes it much more convenient, in my view, to sign documents, open bank accounts, etc. If you choose to have your LLC managed as a manager-managed LLC, you want to make sure the manager's scope of authority is clearly spelled out in the operating agreement. The next item that needs to be included in an operating agreement is how the profits are going to be distributed. You want to make sure that you distribute the profits. That is my dog right there chewing on a squeaky toy. I apologize for that interruption. Okay, the next item, as I was discussing, is profit distributions to the members. You should identify, generally speaking, how profits will be distributed to the members and when. And the last item in the operating agreement, there are other items that need to be included, but just generally speaking, you want to make sure that you address how to amend or update the operating agreement. Okay, so that's the operating agreement. We covered that. The next item on the list is the EIN, which is the tax ID for the limited liability company. It's important that you obtain this. You could have obtained this as part of the setup process on Inc. file pursuant to my prior video. If you did not do so, you can get it directly from the IRS. And this tax ID is important because it allows you to open a bank account. If you're going to file a separate tax return on behalf of the entity, you have to have your own tax ID that's different from your social security number. In addition, if you're going to have payroll that's paid out of your LLC, you want to make sure you have your own separate tax ID. Step number 3 is to open a business bank account, and this is very important. The reason is you need to make sure that your personal funds are separate from your LLC funds. The worst thing you could do is receive revenue or pay expenses out of your personal account. If you do that and you get sued, the plaintiff in the lawsuit is going to try to make the case that, hey, you never operated this LLC separate from yourself. Look, all these transactions that are related to the business are going through your personal account. Maybe you were already doing that as a sole proprietor and you created the LLC in order to give yourself some liability protection. I want to make sure you can do that. That's why it's really important to open a business bank account in the name of the limited liability company. You can have multiple accounts for your LLC, but at a very minimum you need one. And all revenue generated by the LLC and all expenses incurred by that same LLC need to go through the business bank account and should not go through your personal bank account, period. Okay, the next step is to obtain a business permit or license. Whether you need one of these really comes down to where you are located. So I encourage you to check with your city or your county or both. Okay, number 5 is business insurance. Question is, why do you need insurance? The limited liability company could be sued, and if it's sued and you don't have insurance, then it could put you out of business. Also, if you have workers and those workers are doing the type of work that requires workers' comp insurance, you want to make sure that you've got that covered as well. Okay, the last step is to file Form 2553 if you're interested in obtaining S corporation tax status for your limited liability company. Why would you want to do that? The reason you file Form 2553 and elect S corporation status for your LLC, as discussed in other videos, is you want to be taxed as an S corporation to avoid having to pay self-employment tax, which if you don't make this election, you're going to be subject to self-employment tax, which right now is 15.3% on your income. Okay, just make sure that if you're going to elect S corporation tax status and you want to file this Form 2553, you have to do so within 75 days of forming your entity. Or if you're thinking about making this election later on, just make sure that once you make the decision to do it for a certain tax year, you've got to do it within 75 days at the beginning of that tax year. Okay, so those were the 6 steps, generally speaking, that I think every limited liability company owner / member should take after you form your LLC. But there are other issues that are going to come up. For example, you're going to need to find a payroll provider if you're going to start paying yourself or paying other employees payroll. I will put a link to my recommended payroll provider in the description under my video. Also, you're going to have to keep books, right? You're going to have to keep financial records. So you may have to hire a CPA at some point to help you with your tax returns and or a bookkeeper to help you keep your books. Or if you are a do-it-yourself type of person, like I am, I personally use QuickBooks because I've been using it for years. I understand how to use it. It's online. I can also use it as my payroll provider. Also, when I send a bill to my clients, QuickBooks will provide a link for them to make it very easy for them to make a payment rather than having them go to the bank and send me a payment by wire transfer or requesting that they write a check. I mean, many people don't even write checks anymore. Another thing you shouldn't overlook, especially if you have a decent relationship with your bank, is see if you can get a line of credit. Oftentimes I have found that certain banks will just give you $10,000, $20,000 line of credit. It is worth at least asking the question. Another important step that I recommend taking is you should designate one or more of your credit cards to be used only for your business. That way it's very simple. You connect that card to QuickBooks or whatever software you're using, and you know that everything that you put on that card is a business expense. Lastly, make sure that you file your annual reports. Each state is different, but most states, if not all states, require that you file an annual report With the state, it may be annual, it may be every other year. So that was it. Those were the steps I think you should take after you form your limited liability company. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below my video. I ask you very kindly, if you like this video, please click the thumbs up button. And if you want more content like this, please subscribe. And I wish you and your new LLC all the success. I'm rooting for you. Go get them. Thank you very much. Have a great day. That was good, Jax. You did a good job. You're very mellow today. You need to take a nap, don't you?